Well, hey folks, how you doing today? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Glad to have you here today. Well, we're about to have another SSE meeting. This is the Society for Scientific Exploration. You might remember the video I did last year when they met at Yale in Connecticut, and I gave a presentation about the idea of multiverses and how that may have implications for idea of alternate personalities, being a multi-visual, and all that cool stuff. And you can see the video from my presentation last year right up here. This year, it's a joint meeting with IRVA, International Remote Viewing Association. So I'm kind of excited because I've gone to the IRVA meetings for many years. I think the first one was back in 1999, before it was even called IRVA. And you got to meet, Ingo Swann and many other remote viewing legends who had been in the military program and generally pretty cool folks who are really good at RV. It's really great to be around them. So I've been going to those for now it's almost 20 years, and SSE since 2007 when they invited me back in 2007 to talk about my ideas about crop circles and energies and crystalline patterns and so forth. In any case, this time I'm presenting something about is there evidence for a multiverse, ideas about what we would look for empirically in our reality, if we really do live in a multiverse with parallel realities, or is it just philosophy? So that's my mini poster presentation. But I'll be interested to hear a couple presentations there, one of which is from Hal Puthoff. He is talking about the government Department of Defense UFO program, or unexplained aerial phenomena, I guess as it's called now. And I'll be interested to hear this. Hal is someone I've spoken with a number of times at these meetings. He was involved in the SRI remote viewing project with Ingo Swann and Pat Price and other psychics way back in the early 70s. He's been involved in a lot of these programs, and he knows what's going on. So I'll be interested to hear what he tells us about the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. I believe that's what it's called. And his take on it. I mean, we're all wondering, what are these objects? We've had 3 videos released from the Tom DeLonge to the Stars Academy, a group from Luis Elizondo. And I gave you some of my impressions of those videos in earlier YouTube presentations here. But Hal did go on the radio with George Knapp, Coast to Coast, a couple months ago, and he did say, George Knapp did get him to say that he had handled pieces of these craft. And some of them had been, he said, shot off by missiles aimed at these objects. He didn't say too much about it, but he did admit that he had handled these metals. And as I've indicated to you before, I've talked to other people who said that they have been actually seen and handled real UFO materials. So at the SSA meetings every year, there's a special tour of some nearby facility, something of interest to people who come from all over the world to this meeting. And the meetings have been in San Francisco, there with the Computing History Museum was there. And there have been other tours of interesting places at different cities. It was at Washington, D.C. a few years ago. So this year, the tour is of Bigelow Aerospace. And we're told we can't bring any cameras or electronics to record what we find in there. Bob Bigelow being someone who's involved in, creating his own private space program, similar to what Elon Musk and others are doing. And Bigelow Aerospace was mentioned in the New York Times article way back in December 17th, I believe, as having some of these UFO materials. And Luis Elizondo, when he spoke to the media many times following December, said that, yes, these materials were real, that they had had unexplained effects on some of the pilots who had been around these objects, effects on watches, I believe he said, and other strange properties of these exotic materials that were not easily explained. And we were also told that they are being housed at Bigelow Aerospace. So I guess what I'm really wondering is, will we get to see the UFO materials or not? It would be a real step forward if the tour guide actually said, yes, there was that New York Times article and Mr. Elizondo talked about these UFO materials and they're housed right over there behind that, vaulted doorway or something like that. But maybe not. But either way, I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, we've had a number of credible sources say the materials are at Bigelow Aerospace. I think it's a natural follow-up since Hal Puthoff is giving us a lecture about the DoD program, which he was involved with. He was one of the senior advisors to the DoD, we're told, about these mysterious objects. We all want to know, I mean, where are they from? What are these other species from other planets? Are they from another dimension on Earth? I mean, where are these objects from? We haven't heard too much about that. So I think this is a good time to ask some of those questions. Now, if we go into Bigelow Aerospace and they say, well, we can't talk about that, I think that's also interesting too, because here we're told from credible sources that they have the materials. Well, why wouldn't they want to share them at this point? I mean, at least information about it. It's already public knowledge that the Pentagon had this program. So then why can't we learn a little bit? It can't be all classified about what these materials are. I mean, as I mentioned to you, I've spoken to people who've handled these materials. One of them was in Black Swan Ghosts, an aerospace engineer that worked at JPL and other defense contractors. He told us that he had handled some of these materials, and everyone in the lab immediately recognized them as being from off-planet, from the isotopic ratios and things like that, which you don't find from metals here. The metals were different. They're from some other part of the galaxy. So it's a logical question. If we don't get any information, I think that's also interesting, because it shows us that there's some sort of cover-up going on here, that the materials are real, but for some reason you and I can't find more information about them. We can't get the information that we really have a right to know. I mean, at this point, we have a right to know what's going on here. This has gone in the mainstream media. We should have known for decades, and I'd like to find out. So I'll be giving you an update after the tour. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care for now, and bye.